as a final closing statement, so to say, after Yakov and Esav met up, and according to one opinion, Esav was sincere in his love, in his expression of brotherly love to Yakov. But then the Torah says they parted ways. Yakov went to Sukkot, and the pasuk says, "Vayiven lo bayis, v'Yakov nosa Sukkot." Yakov halach Sukkot. Yakov went to Sukkot, vayiven lo bayis, and he built for himself a home. V'ulemikneo asa Sukkot, and for his cattle he built a sukkah. And then it says, Esav, vayikach Esav, es noshav, es bonav, es bnoisav, es kol nafshois beisav. Esav, took his family, his entire family, all his wives, all his children, all his wealth, and he left, that he acquired in Eretz Canaan, and he left Eretz Canaan, and vayeshev Esav b'Har Seir. And Esav went to establish himself to live in Har Seir. And Rashi says something very interesting. Pasuk says, Yakov Achiv, he left from his brother. What he meant by this, because Eretz Canaan, where they were when they met, was promised Avraham Avinu to give it to Avraham Avinu's children. God promised this, that this land will belong to your children. But prior to this, there's going to be an exile. They will have to be in exile. 400 years, they will have to be strangers. Ki geir yezarach, as the pasuk says, your children will have to be strangers, be'eretz lo lahem, in the land which is not theirs. Esav knew that. And Esav thought to himself, I would love to have Eretz Canaan, but if it comes with this condition of 400 years being strangers, 400 years being in exile, not for me. So he left it for Yakov. So he left that blessing, that promise that God gave to Avraham Avinu, that the children of Avraham will inherit it. Yaakov, you have it, but you will have to go to exile. And indeed, as we know, Yaakov, beginning of the parsha of this week, Yaakov is going to Egypt, and then we know the rest of it, which eventually brought the exile of the Jewish people being in Egypt, being freed as the story goes along. But one can ask a question. What's the difference between Yaakov's children going to Egypt in exile, being strangers, and Esav being a stranger in the land of Seir? Why is this not sufficient for the godly promise that you geri yezaracho, that you will be strangers? Indeed, he is a stranger. He is leaving the land of Canaan, where his parental home was, where his family was. He leaves all this and he's going to Har Seir. So they are strangers. Why is this not sufficient for them to inherit and to get the promise that God gave to Avraham Avinu for his children to have the land of Canaan? But the answer lies in the word ki ger yezaracho be'eretz le'lehem. There's one thing being a physical stranger. There's one thing being not having a passport of this country. You live there, you can't vote, you have no opinion, you have no rights, you only have to pay taxes, and but you have no say in it. That means being a stranger, but there is more than this. Geri yezaracho also means that we felt like strangers. In other words, we didn't assimilate within the culture of this environment. In Egypt, there wasn't only the fact that we suffered, which was terrible, but it was also the fact that we did not assimilate. We kept our identity, we kept our tradition to as much as we could. We kept our ancestry. Esav, on the other hand, said, I'm ready to leave it all. I'm going away from this place and I'm closing the door behind me, so to say. I'm adopting a new lifestyle, the lifestyle of Seir, the world lifestyle. I'm assimilating the rest of society, that whatever I have inherited from my parental home is going by the wayside. That's what the pasuk says with Yakov Achiv. He's leaving the entire dynasty, the entire history, the entire heritage of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and he is closing a chapter on this. Now, this story of Yaakov is our story. And interesting, when the pasuk speaks about what did Yaakov do when he went to the place Sukkot, as we said earlier, the pasuk, he built for himself a home, and for his cattle he built a sukkah. What is the Torah telling us here? that he built for himself a home and for his cattle a sukkah? Do I really care how he housed his cattle? And didn't he have a house till now? But what the Torah says, Vayiven loy, to those things that are important to him, to his spirituality, for the education of his kids, he built a permanent home. He made a cheder, he made a girls' school, he made a Bes Rivka, he made a Bes Yakov, he made a yeshiva, he made a seminary, he made a kollel. He made permanent places of educating his family. This is important to him. Lemikneu, all these things that he acquired, his financial and physical wealth, this is just temporary. Built a sukkah. He has it, but it's temporary. This is a message to us to know what is permanent, what is important, and what is just temporary. Living this way, we will certainly arrive very shortly with Yakov to the final destiny in the Bayis